Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's talk about charisma. In this case, not Captain Charisma. Of course, many people would say that's Chris Jericho, man of 1001 holds. Sorry, Dean Malenko. But no, actually, Captain Charisma was Christian. Christian. A lot of people get that wrong. They think Chris Jericho, which I can't blame them. Chris Jericho is pretty incredible, and if you cross him, you do get on the list. But anyway, they're. I don't know why I started out the video that way. Anyway, got a viewer question talking about charisma in comics. Let's get to it. Says Perch, to what extent does charisma play a role in success? I understand good writing, good distribution, and art makes for good sales. But to what extent do you think charisma plays a role in the sales? If a writer was to be as charismatic as a movie actor, talk show host, or carnival barker, do you think that charisma could help boost the sales? Maybe not tremendously, but at least enough to have stable readers. Enough to stave off the cliff dive on every series you see on Comic-Con. Take, for instance, crowdfunding. It's almost purely based on some sort of charisma and trust. Your boy Zach wasn't a high-selling comic writer before he funded a book. EBS didn't start out crowdfunding until he gained all those fans for speaking out. He now basically performs a 4-hour radio show based solely on his charisma. He barely does draw streams anymore. Wade has a good book out right now. Goddamn, he acted like an asshole for like 3 years, and I think that will affect his sales. You're kind of the writer is straying from the original question pretty heavily at this point. Let's get back. Let's get back to that. Let's dial it back. I get that people. I get you like these characters, but anyway, the granddaddy example of all this, says the writer, is obviously the man himself, Stan Lee. He is very charismatic, not just audibly, but in his writing too. Those caption boxes are amazing reads, and I wonder how much that helped Marvel rise to the top. Stan Lee Presents was used for decades. Well, that was because of that was in his payment. That was in his contract that he got that. So they didn't do that just for charisma. They did that because they were legally forced to. It's kind of how when you see Superman show up, you're like, you get the seagulls on there. I mean, it's anyway. There's reasons that exists there. It does not have anything to do with charisma. But to your point, Stan Lee absolutely was. His enthusiasm, his buoyancy, absolutely did help comic sales, no doubt about it. Says, I think being likable helps put into perspective why some people get a bit triggered by the Twitter nonsense. And then I'm not, you know what, I'm not going to do this part. Then mail goes on about Heather Ontos for a bit. Then we wrap up with saying Twitter may not be the best place to sell a book, but it does not mean one should not try. Very least, I don't think complaining about the job you do is healthy for the book. Well, yeah, I think, look, so first off, none of what I'm about to say excuses people going on social media and being an asshole. Okay, asshole is asshole. Okay, for sure. I think but there's enough proof out there to say that Twitter and this kind of stuff does not really matter. And to me, if you see a book that is bombing, and the writer is a crazy creep on Twitter. If the writer was a super nice person on Twitter, from what we can gather from sales and kind of the metrics and estimate, I mean, you get good word of mouth, but you wouldn't go up much. You might get an extra 1,000 buys if you're Marvel, maybe, if you get that kind of good word of mouth via Twitter. The problem is, no matter how nice you are or how mean you are on Twitter, it doesn't really take away from the fact that you still have to write a good book. You still have to actually put out a product people want. Tom King is no like peaches of a person. I could just end the sentence right there. Anyway, not a great guy, and certainly not a great guy on Twitter. He tends to be pretty petty and does a lot of shenanigans. So it's like Dan Slott does a lot of really immature stuff. But Tom King and Dan Slott still put up decent sales for books comparatively to where things are. Some of the other people, I'm not to get into the names, but some of these other people who, have books that sell like, 2,000 copies, 3,000 copies. I mean, look, Eric Larson, said, I'm leaving at Twitter if Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter. And then he left Twitter. And I said, hang on, you get 30 days before your account's nuked. So let's just hold your horses. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, Eric Larson's back on Twitter. But because of course he is. He's addicted to it, like a lot of people. But regardless, Eric Larson, Savage Dragon sells under 5,000 copies, I believe. Last I checked. Maybe things have turned around, but it sold like very, very low amount of books. And it was selling a low amount of books before Eric Larson was on Twitter. After he joined, but was a nice guy on Twitter, sold about the same, years later when he was being a prick to people. It doesn't terribly matter. Now again, don't misinterpret what I say and don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that, hey, bad behavior doesn't matter and you should not care and never try and reach out to people, because of course you should. And the reality is, if you are a prick on Twitter, that probably means that you're going to become a prick in your real life too. And eventually, yeah, people are going to start giving you work. You're going to go to cons and you're going to be seen as kind of an arrogant douche, and that it catches up with you. I mean, to the point I said earlier, both Tom King and Dan Slott do sell less than they used to. But Tom King is not enjoyable at a con. I know some of you had good experiences. If you had, God bless you, more power to you. But he's not enjoyable to be around on conventions, and it eventually bites you in the ass. I've said, look, I'm not saying anything super mean here, but Donny Cates acts like a prima donna when he goes to these conventions. The Emerald City Comic Con was an embarrassment, and a lot of people who went to that show and interacted and dealt with that experience left with a very bad taste in their mouth. And that is going to catch up. Not today, not tomorrow, but at some point it will. You can't act like that and have it not catch up. It just does. I say it with love. It does catch up to you. Yeah, I'll go further back. John Byrne acted like a prick at conventions for a period of time, and it did catch up with him. Next men, did suffer in the sales, and then he had trouble getting hired places. And I mean, he's a brilliant artist, clearly still a brilliant artist, because you can see his work and it's amazing. But you can't be like that for long and have it work. So I guess my point there is, charisma, being nice to people, all that kind of stuff, it matters and it's a good idea. But let's not conflate that with, Twitter behavior, because plenty of the stats prove it doesn't terribly matter. But you should try and have good charisma. I guess taking it all the way back to the beginning, Stan Lee, yeah, he was a hype man. And it's if you show, I guess, tried and true, if you show enthusiasm for your project, genuine, good, consistent enthusiasm, it does become infectious. People can't help themselves. They want a part of that. They want to have what you're having. You have an orgasm in the diner eating your salad. People want that salad. It's just how it works. I think that if you should always approach these things like a hype man. And, Stan Lee would go over the top. It became a gimmick in and of itself. You don't have to go quite that far. But if you look at the people who are very enthusiastic about their projects, it works out well for them. In fairness, usually not right away. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but very soon it does. I believe that, and I've said this before on the show, Jim Zub sounds genuinely, excited about his projects. He comes across enthusiastic. He comes across like I've done interviews with Jim Zub, and I've got the feeling that if I just said, let's keep going here, we would go for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. We would not stop talking about his project because he is so excited about it. He's got a lot to say. He's ready to do it. And that's really awesome. That's what you need. You need somebody when you're doing a project to give off the vibe that they've got so much to say. They're so pumped up. They're so excited about whatever it is they're doing that they can't stop talking about it. They are all they want to do is talk about this amazing thing that they're working on because, damn it, it's the most exciting thing in the world. That's a good that is enthusiasm. That's hype. That is awesome when you have that. And I think that comics needs more of that. In many cases, it's an act. I mean, look, here's something as I'll show as an example. Apple. When Apple comes out and they do their press events, you'll notice that they are like, it is overblown hype. I mean, God damn it, if Apple didn't come out and sound legitimately excited and super pumped and this is the best thing you've ever seen in your entire life, a pregnant man emoji. I mean, can you believe we did a pregnant emoji? Yes, we did. We did. It's there. It is awesome. And guess what? The camera's got 0.45 new megapixels of power in the 1 millimeter. If you've ever watched Rick and Morty, they do when they do the what is it? Universal TV. What anyway? The bit where they ad lib. That's what Apple sounds like. It's like, we got the new phones. There's the space green. It's green, and there's highlights that are lime green and space green, and it's going to feel so good on your hand. You're just going to want it. You're going to get so erect holding this phone because God, it feels so good. It's amazing. It's an amazing device, and it's the Retina liquid crystal display, ionized silver, glossy photo finish pixel stuff is good. Nobody's got it but us. It's amazing. And you listen to that and you go, well, it's clearly, you're clearly high, but you can't help but be excited about it. You're like, I got to get one of those phones. I want to have a boner while I'm walking down the street holding my phone. God, who wouldn't want that? I need that. That's how you are, and that works. So with comics, unfortunately, there's almost a too cool for school kind of mentality that comes into play, where people go, this comic is it's all right. I mean, it's all right. I listen to these interviews sometimes with creators, and they're like, yeah, this comic is good. I mean, it's maybe it appeals to you, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I did some stuff. I had an idea while I was on the toilet, and I was like, yeah, let's see what Tiger's up to. So, this Tiger comic is going to be, it's all right. I mean, if that's your thing, then, you may want to check it out. You might want to. I mean, whatever you want. I don't know, whatever. That's how they act. And that's going to work with a certain segment of depressed emo people, but it's not going to work just generally. People like, bring the smoke. That's what people want. They want some hype. And so I think that's, it's helpful when comics do it, and they should do it. And because if you can bring excitement to your project, it can make up for a lot. Yeah, obviously, yes, you do need good writing skill, and you need good, all that kind of stuff. So you got to do all the other pieces too. But, it works. Anyway, thank you very much for the question. Let me spaz out for a little while. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.